Hey world, this is Ben Willie coming back another video. I'm really tripped out about this one here because it just only validates what I mean by, we as a nation have no nation because, like Mexicans, right? Mexicans actually think, especially those in America, Mexicans actually think that they're Mexican Americans, like they're Mexicans, as if that's the ethnicity or a race. Mexican is a nationality, it's not a race. Okay? You go to Mexico right now, there are over 2 million Afro-melanated Mexicans. Did you know that? Or you may ask, well, where are they located? Well, most of them are located up in the mountainous regions, Mexico. And it's funny about it because these Afro-melanated people, you never hear about. Okay? So when people think about Mexicans, they're only looking at Hispanic Mexicans. Because if you know anything about Mexico and its history, then you know that there were indigenous people in Mexico a long time ago. Okay, then you had Aztecs, and you don't even really know how the Aztecs actually looked. All right, and so this notion of racism and bigotry or prejudices between Afro-melanated people and people from Mexico. Now, I'm not saying Mexicans, but I'm just saying those from Mexico. Because Mexicans, that's not a race, that's a nationality. You go to Mexico right now, you'll see Jewish Mexicans, Asian Mexicans, Japanese Mexicans, right? Polish Mexicans. You have a huge demographic of people in Mexico. Okay? But since we live in a box over here, we don't know that. We just assume everyone that's come to this country that speaks Spanish, that has black straight hair, light skin, and brown eyes, that they're Mexicans. But what kind of Mexicans are they? Spanish Mexicans? Right? And it's so funny because it wasn't until 2015 that Mexico started even taking demographics, as far as race and ethnicities. And you may ask yourself, why is it not like common knowledge? Well, just like Puerto Ricans and Cubans, okay, Dominican Republicans, they're all black. Mexico right now, it's hard for them to even decide about DNA tests and all that kind of stuff, but because there's a chart right now that if you look at the chart of all the so-called indigenous Mexicans or the Mexicans, Spanish-speaking Mexicans, not the Asian immigrants that come over, not the Polish immigrants that come over. Okay? We're talking the Hispanics, the Mexicans, the nationality of Mexicans that were in that country a long time ago. It's hard for them to even decide, it's hard for them to even come up or conclude the true ethnicity of most quote-unquote Mexicans, Spanish-speaking Mexicans, because a high majority of them have sub-Saharan African in their system, in their DNA. And most of the indigenous Mexicans have a lot more sub-Saharan African in their DNA. So what does that mean? If you don't know anything about the Amish, and the Amish were the first Afro-melanated people to migrate over to this country from Acapella, or so-called Africa. And that's why if you look at the statues that were found in Mexico, those are Amish statues. Okay? Not Aztec statues. The Amish is there long before the Aztecs. And so this notion of prejudices and discrimination against Afro-melanated people, especially if you're from Mexico. Why? Because you black anyway. Okay? So it's just an interesting concept. Like I say, my wife, her grandmother's black. Okay? So, knowledge is power, family. So make sure you put yourself in a situation where you judge individuals, because remember, we didn't come up with the notion of race and prejudice and racism. We didn't come up with that notion. Okay? And so it's not an accident when Mexican Americans come up. It's hard to even say Mexican American. That's just like calling Afro-melanated people African Americans. It's not accurate. It's not accurate. Because what country in Africa? Okay? Well, okay, if I'm Mexican American, am I an indigenous Mexican? Am I, a black Mexican? Am I European Mexican, Spanish Mexican? Because we know that the Spaniards came into Mexico back in the 1500s and destroyed Mexico City, which at the time was called Tenochtitlan. Okay? And so, people of color, that's all of us. Okay? So get your mind right, family. I just want to come back with a quick video about that because it's easy to get, turned away from the truth if you don't look into it. All right? So, my brothers and sisters that are from Mexico, what type of Mexican are you? All right? 9 times out of 10, you got us in you. All right? All right, family. Meantime, between time, may the Most High Saudi bring you joy and being with us out of 5,000.